Good morning, good evening, everyone. How are you? Greetings from Hong Kong. It is 10 a.m. on Sunday morning here. Hope you're doing well. Leave me a message in the chat where you're chiming in from. I see Mosir and Rob from Hamden, Connecticut, Philip from the Blue Mountains. Thanks for joining us, guys. I am barely awake, so give me a couple of minutes to warm up and get into my rhythm. You probably saw in the last week, if you're on the mailing lists, I have been communicating about we finally got my new website live. It's kind of a tip of the iceberg situation where I'm now finally able to show you, and it's just, a bunch of pages, nothing much. But the amount of work that's gone into it and the hours, I'm so relieved to finally have it out to you guys. So thank you to everyone who's already gone to check it out. Let me just show it to you. This is the main page that shows all of the courses. There's some brand new courses there. This is also where I'll share image files and stuff. Here's some from the GFX video that I just did. Here's the Lightroom for photographers that I'm offering free streaming to for this month. And then the new macro course, Gear Masterclass is new, some different presets, the deep dives into landscape, portraiture, and wildlife. And the whole thing is new. So the back end, how the videos all play and everything is all new as well. So you can check that out. As I said, the Lightroom is only free for this month. But I also I put every single course up 65% off for the launch month, and then some bundles up for 80% off. And if you didn't see the last videos, let me just take this moment to say again, one of the main reasons that I've moved the website to this new one, which is learn.mattgranger.com, is because of the overwhelming amount of spam email that the people who were helping me to provide the courses over the last year were sending you guys, and I want to apologize for that. I have to say, in this first week of having the website live, you potentially got 4 emails from me, one letting you know that this was coming, one from the site saying your account was created, one with an update, and then one letting you know that it's live. So that's already a lot of email. We won't be sending 4 in a week in future, and it's not going to be like rampant sales emails either. So I hope if you did unsubscribe in the past year, you now know that that was the team looking after my courses sending all of those, not me personally trying to ruin your day every single day. And you'll give it another chance, because that's where I'll be sharing my YouTube content, different tips and tricks, things from the archive, events and travel, as well as new courses and that kind of thing. So please do check it out. Now, I see someone saying their volume seems low to them. Can anyone else tell me if that's happening to you as well? Or maybe Philip just needs to adjust his settings? No, others are saying it's low as well. My system seems to think that it's going in just fine. If you guys are having trouble to hear me though, let me just check. Is that any better? Hello, hello, hello. I've just turned my mic pack up 10 dB, so that could make a big difference. Let me know if, just give it a minute, put your headphones or speakers up. If I need to go in and adjust the camera, it's going to get a little bit messy. So I hope that you can hear me okay. And thank you to everyone who entered our competition this week. Now I have to say, I chose this as a joke because the theme of this week is spot color or selective color. The example I gave is the Schindler's List poster of the black and white scene with the girl in the red dress popping out. Because I'm not a fan of selective color. I never have been. I think it's overdone, and it's very rare that I see a shot that I actually really like where the spot color has improved the image. I really can't think of any. But people like to do it. So this week's theme is spot color, partly to torture me and partly so then, people who've entered them in the past and didn't win because, it's not my favorite. Now one of you is going to win, so it should be good. one thing to keep in mind for spot color though, it should still be enhancing a good photo by drawing the attention to a particular area or misdirecting attention as it may be. But you can't just apply a kind of a gimmicky editing technique to elevate a boring shot into an interesting shot. If the shot is too busy or complicated, maybe simplifying the colors down to just one will make a difference. Let's see as we go through. I'd love to hear your feedback in the chat. But generally, it should already be a good shot. It's the same as if you see an image that has had this huge artificial vignette put on it. If your shot is struggling to put the attention on the subject that much, then there were things you should have done at the time you were shooting it rather than just darkening down the sides to put the eye in a certain spot. That's kind of how I feel about selective color as well. But as we go forward, I won't keep reiterating what I don't like about it. I'll be trying to focus on how well it's been used and if it could have been done better or that kind of thing. So let's just jump right on into it and take a look. So open up my Lightroom. Now, I have not organized them in the normal order so that it's not all the A's, B's, C's coming up first. And I have taken the names off for now so we can just take a look at them with no names. And I would love to hear your feedback on all of them. So this one is kind of like the adult party version of the Schindler's List poster, a girl in a red dress in a crowd. Here though, I think the movement and everything kind of works well, although it would be cooler, I think, if there was most motion in her dress and hair and less everywhere else. It's kind of the other elements that I feel have the most motion in them. And I think that could be because it looks to me like the red channels not only have been boosted in saturation, but also in brightness. So it's kind of blown out, whereas the hand here, which has a huge amount of motion, is not as bright and it's much easier to see. But I do think that is a pretty good shot to get the ball rolling, and one where if it were full of colorful outfits, she could have been lost in it. And I should say, let me just jump back. As always, I will be interpreting things broadly. So it doesn't mean that the whole shot has to be completely black and white with a pop of color. It could be that you've kept it color, but you've really accentuated one channel. It will need to be noticeable for that though. Or it could be that you muted most of the colors and pumped up another one, that kind of thing. So it's basically trying to put emphasis with one particular color. Now, I'm gonna have to get seriously into this coffee because I am barely awake. I'm always complaining or sharing that it's been a busy week, it's been a busy month, whatever. Getting this site up has really been like 3 months work crammed into 6 weeks whilst we're doing a bunch of other things, whilst my assistant has just finished up working with me. It's been a lot. And I should say, very important, if anyone is having any issues with the new site, whether it's about your account or trying to find a course or anything like that, there's a contact page on the site. Please get in touch. I'm personally replying to every single contact that we get, and I'll sort you out. So, what do you guys think of this roses shot? So this highlights a point that we should talk about here. There's a couple of different ways to do this kind of a spot color. You could just bring down all of the color channels. So if we're taking a look just here above my head, we could, for example, bring the red channel down, and then it's going to be red and green, red and orange, but like that. Or you could be painting out the saturation in the background with a brush. Now here, it could be that the plant was kind of dying or what, I'm not sure, but the edges do look a bit wishy-washy. And here you can see there is haloing around the red that still has color. So if you're going to be using a brush for this kind of thing, same with any kind of editing, just take the time to brush it properly or use a mask to try and get your edits done well. Here, I think it works just fine, but I don't think that the technique elevates the shot that much. And the one flower that's our focal point is kind of small in the frame. What do you guys think? This one, I think actually works quite well. Now it is muted tones for the rest of the colors and then the vibrant pop of red. But here I think it actually, the pop of red is kind of, instead of being like 0 color in most areas and then 100% saturation in the colorful area of, say, our first one, this is kind of like 20% in everywhere and 80% in the reds. It's not too crazy over the top. And the edit's been done quite well. There's still some, you can see the edging around there. It's still not quite right, but it's pretty damn close. And if you guys heard, this is a nice little segue. I promise I didn't plant this image in the shot. Over at my other website. So now I should say all of my sites are mattgranger.com and artnudeportraiture.com, and the teaching parts are learn. I can't actually open it because it's adult content. But the Art Nude Portraiture members only library, this month I'm adding 2 new volumes to it. One is a collection of outtakes from different shoots with Steph, and the other is a shibari shoot, and shibari is the Japanese art of rope tying, which goes a long way beyond blindfolds, but this is kind of a nice little segue to it. I'm going to give that one a pick. Okay, a bit of punchy kicky action in, where is this? Manhattan? I almost said Sydney, but no, it's New York. So, I don't know what to say. What do you guys think on a shot like this? If it were just black and white, I don't think there's a lot going on. I don't think there's a lot to elevate it from a normal snapshot. The interplay of the people isn't, really interestingly timed. There isn't like a separation in terms of focus of the statue in the background. And by making it just color, yes, they pop, but I don't know if that's enough to really make it, in here you can see all the areas where it hasn't been properly done as a color, leaving the color in. I just don't think that, like I said, using this technique won't make an ordinary shot exceptional. It can be used to add emphasis or make a great shot even better, but for me, this doesn't really cut it. What do you guys think? Okay, look, I said I'm not going to go on and on about the things I don't like about spot coloring, so I'm not going to, but I'll just say this is the kind of thing you see a lot. I see it used a lot in boudoir photography. My issue with this kind of a shot is having a spot of color and then the person look black and white. One, it can just make them look unhealthy or like a vampire or something. Like, why are they devoid of color and rich tone, which is what makes skin tone so nice to look at. It's, there's a thing we talk about with, say, in my, by the way, I should say next week's theme is going to be wedding photos. So if you have one, go head on over to the website /live and enter it there. The reason we do black and white photos so often at weddings is where the color would be a distraction. So bringing in for the wedding, for example, the bridesmaids and the bride. If you shoot that as a color shot, the bridesmaids are usually in colorful dresses or in a colorful room, And the bride in her often white dress kind of doesn't grab all of the attention. But when it's a black and white, you abstract all the color, just focus on tone. The bride's normally the brightest because it's a white dress, puts the emphasis on her. Now, that's, when you do a black and white of a human body as well, it can be really beautiful. But here, having the most detailed part, the lace and the bra, be a bold color, I feel like it just kind of makes it busy, and then means that the two things that black and white could do for this image have been lost. My 2 cents. So again, it's not this, you had to do spot color to enter the competition, so I'm not criticizing that. It's just the application. In my opinion, this doesn't help the image. I think it would work better though as just a black and white or just a color. This almost isn't spot color. The bark of a tree can be that gray. It's just that the saturation has been pushed a long way on the bird, and the like a lot. It's like peaking. The blues and everything have been pushed like crazy there. It could be just that you pulled the channel down in the bark, which has desaturated parts of the bird as well, which doesn't work. So for one like this, probably doing it manually would have worked better because you're getting all of these weird flecks of highlights in the background. Oh, Mr. Sanchez is here. Hey buddy, I didn't think you were going to make it today. But I think this shot has a lot of potential. I just think the way you've edited that and the highlights that's left on the bird does not work. So let's jump back and take a look at a couple of questions. Well, there's just a simple one here. Kevin Connery saying, one of the reasons I tint my black and whites is if I'm going to spot color is to avoid this zombie skin look. There you go. If anyone does have a question, please send them through. We have Juan and Yobo in the room who will save the questions and forward them on to me so that I can check them out for you. And by the way, who was it? Philip and anyone else in the room from Australia, happy Father's Day. Today is Father's Day in Australia. Cheers. Okay, let's jump back and take a look at some more. Please send through your questions. Okay. Now, let me have a quick look here before I say it. Yeah, I wasn't sure at first glance if this was meant to be like a vignette, but using a vignette of black and white that then left like a ball of color on them, which would kind of make sense seeing they're playing, looks like softball or something. Or if it's meant to be just the women are in color and the background isn't. I think it's actually the latter because it's not a circle. Here it's all been filled in around her, but this just looks like an incredibly lazy brushing technique that has left in all of this color here. And this is the risk I think that the thing that a lot of people do that doesn't work for me is it's not just that this part has been desaturated and this part has been left saturated. Then the area that has been left saturated has been pushed to 11 and it just by itself doesn't look right. Even if we're not paying attention to the background, look at the color of the sand and the grass there. That also just looks completely unnatural. Now, if you were shooting some kind of creative piece or art piece where having unnatural looking colors worked, then fine, go for it. But we all know what a sports field looks like, and this isn't it. So for me, it doesn't really work. And if you were trying to brush them out, the brushes are pretty intelligent now. This must have been like a 3-second job to paint around them. If you'd taken 20, I think you could have this looking about what you were, what's the right way to say it? Not what you wanted, because I don't know what you wanted. But you could have done a much more accurate edit on it with just another 20 or 30 seconds of time. Okay. Now, I think this works reasonably well, but again, I don't want to keep harping on it about, I said I wasn't going to just keep going on about what I don't like about selective color, but I'll just say one thing that, because it affects the whole show. One of the things, other than we don't, unless you have a strange issue with the cones in your eyes, we don't see like this and only see one channel of color at a time. So it already looks a little bit unnatural, but when it's then done in a way that makes it look so unnatural, like super boosting up the saturated parts, or making it so contrasty so that the background looks like burnt charcoal and scrunched up paper, again, in this kind of a shot, it almost works to make it look otherworldly, like this is some growth on a log that they found in outer space. But I feel like this kind of a look, where just nothing looks right, is often done in selective colors, where we do the selective color, then let's just make everything else look weird as well. This one I think looks okay. But again, the orange has just been pushed to 14. I think you could have left it closer, like down a little in terms of its saturation, and had the shot still work, still pop, but not be quite so artificial colored. Okay, so it's kind of the lifeblood of the town, lucky arena with the water running through. Again, the blue being pushed so far, rivers generally don't look quite that blue, especially when the sky above is not super blue. That's where it's getting its color from after all. I don't know. I would really like to see the shot in full color to see how it worked. I don't feel like the river is a strong enough part in the image. I mean, you can draw out all kinds of metaphor about it's the thing we never think about, but it's the thing that keeps the town alive and feeds the crops and waters the animals and all of that kind of thing. But it feels a little bit like it's just been added as an afterthought rather than maybe that's a good point. Sometimes going out with the intention of this is how I'm going to edit the shot, so this is how I'm going to shoot it, can help inform the way you shoot. Whereas if we just decide afterwards, this isn't really working, let me try selective color, maybe that's how we end up getting to these kind of places. Let me just take a look at some questions that we've had come in. So John Muscat, can you do a tutorial on best ways to mask photos to make adjustments in Lightroom? Well, first of all, you can check out my free photographer's guide to Lightroom that I'm giving free streaming to all month at the new website. I think that's already been put in the chat, but if you just go to any of the learn.mattgranger.com links, you can find it there and see a whole introduction to Lightroom. But having already made a whole series and giving it away for free, I think that's probably enough, but maybe it's worth doing a YouTube video as well. Rob, to be fair, what do you like about selective color? I'm doing this tutorial as a challenge, this review, as a challenge to myself and to give those of you who do love it a chance. I can't say that there's anything that jumps out to my mind that I love about selective color. I can't think of many, if any, shots that I think were actually improved with the technique. But again, it's personal opinion. I'm just one guy, and we can be best friends and have totally different opinion on things. I don't have thin skin like that. Happy to hear your thoughts. Would love actually to hear your guys' thoughts on what you like about selective color, what you think the best parts are, when you think it's well used, all of that kind of thing. I think that's all the questions we have so far. Okay, so I'll just jump back in then. So this doesn't work too badly. The edit's been done reasonably well. It's hard to not have it end up looking a bit crunchy on a shot like this. I still question, what does it really add? If they were that well camouflaged that you couldn't find them easily, then maybe this adds something, but I'm not 100% sure how this, it'll be interesting to see the before shot and what was the creative decision to go with this. Maybe the trees in the background are a light brown color as well, so the birds were really difficult. I don't know. I can't say that. I think this edit here has been done fairly well. I think the final result is quite good. I will give it a pick as a finalist. I still, to my taste, think that this would work better as just a straight color or just a straight black and white. Okay, this is an interesting one because these plants actually do have almost a monochromatic pattern, sometimes at least. I'm no botanist, but I've certainly seen some of these where the dark and light areas are almost devoid of color, and then you have one rich color that could be a red. I feel like I see it more often as like a purple or a dark green. But here, where it's almost an abstract object, or a plant where it could be any color kind of, this just feels like a creative choice that doesn't actually take away from the image or make it look like something that feels wrong. Having said that, it feels like there's something a bit odd going on with this one. It could be just that it's just out of focus. But I think that treatment works quite well. There's nothing jarring about it. It's kind of a pretty plant. Yeah. Andrew Stevenson, Sin City did a great job of selective color. Yeah, that was a good movie. So this is kind of one of the classic scenes where you see this kind of an edit done. It certainly makes them pop out. We see them nice and clearly. I'll give it that. It looks like it's been reasonably well done. Except these clear cutout windows are showing us the watercolor through them, that if you wanted to get it accurate, you would kind of decolor those as well. Yeah. Do we have more questions coming through? Let's have a look. Randall Wolfinger, I use selective coloring in sports photography sometimes. I think it works well, especially in football, to isolate the player. Okay. Did you enter any shots? It'd be interesting to see how you do it and how you, what the before and after kind of. I just said it. I don't need to say it again, but I feel compelled to say again. If you really love selective color, please don't take this as like a slap in the face. I don't know you. I don't know your workflow. It's just a personal taste. We could be talking about food and me saying that I don't like eggplant and eggplant's your favorite food. It's not me trying to get down on anyone. It's, if anything, it's just a reflection on me and my tastes. And, everyone has their own taste. Rob Speet asks, do you prefer Lightroom to Capture One? So I actually use a lot of different software over time, but I would say I spend most of my time in Lightroom. I also use Photoshop daily. I would say I use Capture One less often, but it does have some really powerful color tools. So if I were doing something like a selective color competition, then I would probably jump into Capture One. It does have some really great tools there, and it's, people seem to love it or hate it, but the Luminar software also has some really powerful tools in there that at times can be useful. What do you guys tend to do your editing with? For Photoshop, I'm often doing things like to do masking, to make composites, to put text and that kind of thing onto images. And if I have an area where I need to like get rid of a dust spot or get rid of a PowerPoint or something on the wall, I feel like the patch tool in Photoshop does a much better job than the, what's it actually called in Lightroom? I forget. Apologies, I'm a bit sleepy. Anyway, the dust removal tool in Lightroom. Spot removal. Matte media. No? Where's that question? Sorry. Questions. Mal Media, I think you're doing an excellent job of reviewing these photos. I am on board with your thoughts. Appreciate you challenging yourself. Well, that's very kind. Yeah, that is very kind, but if you were to leave me a comment, Mal, saying that thanks for doing this review, but I totally disagree and here's why, I would appreciate that feedback just as much. So that's very kind of you, though. Ben Gronveld, extreme close-up of someone's eye, especially blue eyes, looks awesome with selective color and dramatic. Well, let's see. Maybe we'll have an eye entered and we can see it for ourselves. Philip is using Topaz and Photoshop, and I guess Rob is saying he uses Photoshop for layers, which makes very good sense. So let's jump in and take a look at some more pictures. Now, the more classic shot in Boudoir is having the glass of red wine still in color with everything else out. I'm sorry, this shot just makes me laugh. So a woman with a big bust is often posed in a way that will show the most amount of cleavage possible, but this is a really creative, extreme version. Especially the idea of eating spaghetti and meatballs off the floor in this way, it just seems bizarre to me. And then everyone knows you shouldn't be wearing heels on the sofa, surely. That doesn't have to be just an Asian household thing. You're going to put holes in the fabric. Look, what I'll say, I really just find the photo funny. I would say I personally don't like the feet crossed behind the head kind of dolphin tail pose either, but I think it's reasonably well lit, well framed, no distractions. I find it funny and I'm curious how the concept came together to do this. And you almost could overlook the fact that it's selective color. But yeah, okay, nicely done. Let us know whose this was. Oh, this is a very, very subtle touch of color here. Apologies if there's anyone phobic to nipples. There's a tiny bit of hugely offensive skin poking through the negligee there. So this, I actually think this would work even better. So I'm going to give it a pick. I think it's a cool idea just having the highlight, the key light be, kind of the edge light be colored and remaining. But I think it would work even better if it weren't spilling so much on the bed, if it were just a little bit in the fabric on the side of her head, and maybe just a little bit in the background, but not so, maybe even you could keep it on this left side of her. But I think it would work better if it weren't all on the bed back here. I think it would pop more without that. So having said, let's not be rushed. I'm now going to rush and just show you that, see if my thought is correct. So let's just switch this to just a saturation brush. What am I doing? Seriously, what's going on here? Sorry, guys. Okay, so saturation. So if we had all of this without it, so then it's just kind of that side of the shot, and then maybe even, no, that one's too much, but something like that I think works even better. Hi Richard Wintle, of course we care that you're here. Yeah, I feel like that kind of makes it pop even more, and then I think this works reasonably well. So congratulations to whomever this was. Okay. I forget the name of who entered this one, but I remember that this was version 2 of an image that was sent in. I don't know what it is that she's holding. Look, it's a pretty portrait. I think it would work better with eye contact and better if we knew what she was holding. Having her hold something red, it could be a cherry, it could be a lollipop, it could be a demolition detonator. It's really hard to get a story from it, and I don't feel like the red there actually helps tell a story. If anything, I feel the red distracts us from her eyes and smile, which is where our attention should be on a shot like this. That's quite interesting. Is that the car desert that's somewhere in the desert is it California or on the what? It's off Route 66, I think. So again, I'm going to give that a pick. And again, I think the cool thing about, when you do any big job, when you get a chance to step back and then identify patterns, I think it's really useful. So like I've recently been going back through my archives over 15 years, pulling out images for the private members library. Seeing things that you tend to do over and over again makes you start to realize you have a preference for something, or the style, or just things that you didn't even really notice before. And doing this review, I'm realizing that I think the selective color works quite well when it's abstract things or inanimate things or plants where it could be that color. And here, the whole thing basically looks like a movie poster. So here, having the spot color, I don't think is jarring at all. And it's so small, it's so subtle. I actually think this works really well. So, hermanos. Okay, so this is along the lines of the rope shot earlier, in that the background has been muted but not fully desaturated, and then the prominent element has been kept saturated but not overly done. I like that it's not overdone, but I don't think it makes the shot, dramatic or something that holds my attention. So what are we looking at here? Is that an art installation or a really like a spider that went to engineering school or something? It reminds me of, there was a scene in one of those terrible Da Vinci Code movies, like the third one, I think, where they were down in a subterranean reservoir that looked just like this, but they were looking for a bomb rather than underlit spider webs. I don't know if this would even be selective color. It looks like maybe it's had a tint put on it, but it looks like it probably was almost monotone in terms of the overall shot. I guess if I knew what it was or had been there to know the challenge of getting a shot like this, it might have more meaning for me, but as it is, I can't really get a sense of what it is that we're appreciating here. Okay. So, first thing that jumps out here, this is the difficulty when you're shooting a lit subject if they're wearing all dark clothes but then one really bright or reflective clothing, this is the challenge. Her vest is so much brighter than the rest of it. I do think this has kind of the zombie feel going on again, having a pop of red, but then this makes the skin feel more unnatural than it would if it were just all black and white. It's kind of a catch-22. The reds haven't been popped very much. If they were over-popped, then I would think that's probably not ideal. But the fact that they're so muted, you barely notice that it is. It just, everything looks a little bit slightly off. It also all looks a little bit out of, like it's got motion blur going on. Your shooting info hasn't come through, but maybe this was shot with continuous lights and at a slightly too slow of a shutter speed. And Toronto. This also has, look what's going on here. We've got it's an unsteady shot. And again, no shooting information. I guess this was handheld. There's a bit of motion blur going on in the shot. And it also is just completely lacking any highlights or shadows. I think if you added some contrast to the shot, it's going to make the whole thing pop better. And if you have that contrast, as well as making the whole shot feel more contrasty and better, it's going to make the color pop more. So that's after and before. Although maybe having it muted like that is a nice representation of what Toronto is like in winter. I don't know. What did you guys think? Was there any particular favorites amongst those? So this is all of our entries then, and these are the 5 that I chose out as finalists. And I think I will give 3. It's going to be this one. Oops, what did I just do? I just hit the people tab, which I didn't mean to, and now because I have this too large for the window, I can't get it off again. Let's go back. Come on. Oh, what's going on? What did I just do? Because I hit people. We'll come back to that. Let me check your questions and I'll announce who the 3 winners were. Questions, layers. Where are my questions from 1? Fly, fish, and photo. In last week's review, there was a dropout close to the end and we didn't know which photos won. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, last week we were having a hard time with the stream. We kept having issues of it being jittery or whatever, and we couldn't, I don't know what was going on. I think it was a YouTube issue because our internet speed kept up, but it just wasn't with us. So I don't have the winners' names handy. We did go through and announce them. Although that reminds me, I actually have to apologize. I've been so busy over the last week, I don't think I've been in touch to allocate the prizes. So today I will get in touch with last week's winners and this week's winners. And reminder to get your wedding shots in for next week's theme. Now, 1 second whilst I get this thing sorted. Here we go. So, our first one is going to be this one from Kevin Connery. Congratulations. And this one from Adam Anderson. Congratulations. And then a runners-up to Philip Livingston. So congratulations, guys. I will be in touch today to let you get your prizes. And now that I'm running both of the websites, at learn.mattgranger.com and learn.artnudeportraiture.com, I'll be able to offer prizes from both of them. So I'll get in touch with you guys and last week's winners and let you know. And reminder that next week our theme is wedding photography. So if you are interested in getting into weddings, you can check this out. Like all of my courses, wedding photography is 65% off for this month. And it seems with the world starting to reopen in parts that weddings are getting back onto the agenda. So there is, I'm sure, pent-up demand for wedding services. Okay, I think that may be it. Thank you to everyone who joined. If you have any last question, let me know. Otherwise, a quick show is a good show. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. I still have some little customer support things and some updates to do on the website today. Phone call with home for Father's Day. Yeah, hope you all have a great weekend. Get your wedding theme shots in for next week. Don't forget to grab your, to check out the streaming course of Lightroom for photographers. That links are in the chat somewhere. And you can check out all the different courses and bundles that are up for the September launch. Thank you guys. Take care. I'll see you soon.